Hi, friends. Welcome to today's Zoom chat again. Always a reminder that we record these sessions, we archive them, and have the notes always available on the DC Collaborative's COVID-19 response page. And we hope that you all are having a good morning. I can't believe it's Wednesday. It feels like the longest Monday or, since last week. I just don't know. It's weird. The days are getting so strange and fluid. I'm definitely losing track of time. Thank goodness we have these calendars. I don't know. I can't hold anything else in my mind at the moment. So appreciate calendars, that's for sure. To that end, for those of you that are on, I recommend you add these daily Zoom chats to your calendar, so they're there. The first couple of weeks, that's not true. It's only been 1 week, guys. Oh my God. The first week, we, including up to yesterday, we were sending e-blasts to our full list. We'll start to reminding folks that we're on. And I think it's just to get everyone used to the idea that we're here. And we will push that to our social media. So if you're not already following the collaborative on our Facebook and Twitter, I strongly recommend and would appreciate if you guys would follow us there, because we will post a lot of information in very real time there as well, including reminders for these Zoom chats. Tracy, do you want to share what the Zoom chats are going to look like moving forward? Because we're going to be changing some of the structure. The first week, we had to do some rapid response work, but now we have some real programming and content.
Yeah. So I will share briefly what we're thinking about and the follow-ups and longer term impacts from our meetings and how they can take shape. So we will be assigning weekly topics to each day, and I know I promised this on Monday, but we're still working to confirm the speakers. So this announcement will probably come in your newsletter, which is going out tomorrow. But on every Monday, we have confirmed now that David Markey, as well as Mary Lambert, David Markey from the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, and Mary Lambert, the Director of Arts at DCPS Central Office. They will take part every Monday. On Tuesdays, the rest of the week, we still are confirming the best days for our folks, but we'll have a one day of the week we'll focus on developing distance learning materials. Another day we'll focus on out of school time providers, especially those who have summer camps, if they want to talk about their planning around that. We'll have teaching artists and practitioner focused conversations. And then we'll also be starting up our Connecting to Curriculum workshops, but virtually. The DC Collaborative does these workshops every spring. So we'll start to reach out to the DCPS curricular content leads to join us and keep it at 11 o'clock to maintain some consistency for these meetings. It'd be kind of cool to promote it as like a daily Zoom chat takeover or something like that. So we're still confirming. And then also we'll have listservs that are associated with these topics, as well as listservs for people who just want reminders about these daily Zoom chat sessions. We're being really cognizant of your email inboxes, but the collaborative is getting a lot of information in, and we want to share that with all of you. So we find the best way, and I really love these meetings to see other people and virtually connect with anybody. But yeah, we're sending out reminders. You could always message Lissa or I one-on-one if it got lost in your inbox and you have a question about what's coming up next. But yeah, the next big email will probably be in your newsletter tomorrow that architects more of the series for you.
Yeah. But everyone is welcome to join us every day. We're here every weekday, not Saturday and Sunday, but every weekday at 11. So just add that to your calendar, but be on the lookout for the content, because there may be special programming that you'll want to really hone in on, and make sure you'll want to participate on those days. So we're doing our best to be responsive to our whole community and everyone's needs. So that content will continue to evolve as we find out more information, more resources that may start to open up, which we're all anxiously waiting to learn about. Funding resources, of course, but other types of collaborative projects, ways that we may be able to continue to collaborate and work together beyond Corona, because we have to think about that. And that's a lot of what that summer camp programming conversation might be about, because we just don't know what the schedule is going to look like. And we know many of our members, many of you as teaching artists, have summer camp programming, but that's in flux right now too. So I think that conversation is going to be a really big one. But certainly every Monday, those will probably be our larger conversations, just because we'll have David Markey and Mary on to give us the big check-in updates, or maybe not so big depending on the weeks, but at least being able to connect with them, it's going to be very important each week. So big news for us yesterday, big news. Yesterday was the launch of DC Collaborative's distance learning website. And for those of you that have been on the call before, you've seen Trey or Tracy walk you through what that looks like, as we've been asking you all to provide content. And to date, we have more than 60 different learning opportunities across every discipline and grade band already uploaded. And we're doing our best to continue to upload more as it's coming in. And also for those of you that are trying to figure out best ways to get that content up, we're doing our best to make those connections. And I think someone on the Friday Zoom chat might be joining us, we'll see, to help with like Canvas, what DCPS is using. I know that came up. Karen, you'd asked about that, and I think Tom, you'd asked about other resources too. Just how you should build these things and how to use them. So but the exciting news is, to start, it's been launched, because yesterday was DCPS's official first day of telelearning, distance learning. So we wanted to officially announce that website resource. So you probably saw that e-blast. Even if you don't have your content up there just yet, if you could share that out to your networks, it's going to be very important. It's gone out to all DCPS parents and families because it lives on the DCPS portal. We know that the DC Public Charter School Board communications team will be messaging that out as well. We've done a lot on social media, on Twitter in particular, in pushing the announcement out, but it really is a grassroots effort. It takes all of us. So please share that with your extended lists as well, because this is a great service that we all provide to the DC community, DC parents, caregivers, and their kiddos. And this is also, as we've been saying, a tool and resource that we know will live beyond what the next few months look like, and a great way for us to showcase all of the great learning opportunities that our programming can offer. And I think a way for parents to learn much more about what the cultural community does to support student learning. So we think that this is a really lovely thing that has blossomed out of this crisis. And we just ask right now for you to not only populate it with content, and we'll help you get there, but also to share with your networks, even if your content isn't there yet. Yesterday alone, we launched it officially at 12 noon. We had 400 unique visits. So it's going to work. There's going to be a lot of exposure to your programming and to DC's cultural institutions as a result. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts, ideas for how to further market the portal as well? feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to chat or share anything. Or go ahead.
Oh, please also introduce yourself,
Oh, yes.
your organization,
Yeah.
or your organizational affiliations for teaching art.
Today, since we're a smaller group, you don't have to type it in the chat box, so thanks. Less typing today. But also, since we're a smaller group today, let's take advantage of being a smaller group. How about each of you share out some of your new ideas, concerns, something really funny that happened to you. Yeah, let's just have a good water cooler moment now. So I see you're laughing. Okay, you have a joke? You have something you want to share?
Oh, no, I wish I had a joke. I was like, wow. No, I'm Heidi Martin. I just started in January at DC Jazz Festival as an education program and in community engagement assistant to Sunny Sumter and the executive director. And I was there for a few years, for 3 years, as a teaching artist. So I kind of came up from the ground of really presenting the programs and already knowing a lot of different teachers at mostly KIPP schools, but also some other private childcare spaces. So now I'm assisting her on like all of the programs. So the field trip experiences, but it's a shame because, you know, this happened. And so a lot of it just almost seems like as soon as we get something, a new idea about how we're going to do something. So we were just going to be filming some things and the facility closed. So we're kind of, you know, we're I would say that we're really positive and we have a lot of energy. We also meet every day. So sometimes I'm kind of moving out of this one and going right to the phone for that meeting. But I think actually one of my points is to get something to you written up. So I'm going to be working on that today. And then I'm filming classes in my home.
Oh, great.
Out for stuff. So we're just coming up with all kinds of stuff to keep it going. But maybe, yeah, if you could talk a little bit more about how you would like that, since we are small, if you don't mind, what are you looking to get from me that, you know, a write-up or any kind of, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Tracy, do you want to share? Maybe we could walk through a couple of examples so you can see what it looks like. Yeah.
Sure. And we did a needs assessment, and some analytics will be in the newsletter about what teachers are most requesting. So I can briefly look at that. Google Forms has a very basic like graphs and stuff. I can just briefly go over that too. But let me share my screen. I'm on my laptop right now because my camera wasn't working on my other computer. So bear with me. It's a little bit smaller. Oops, I didn't.
Well, Tracy's calling that up. What platform are you guys thinking of using for your jazz class? Karen had a question about that.
Of the jazz class?
For your classes, yeah. What platform are you thinking? You said, are you using, how are you going to record those home sessions you're doing? What platform are you thinking of?
I think that I'm recording them to video and they're going to put them, possibly they're going to put them on a YouTube, or KIPP is going to take them direct and put them on KIPP's website.
Got it.
But I probably should check with Sunny if there's a way. I thought we were going to do more that was like having DC Jazz Fest website as also a part of the pathway. But it's possibly it's not, because for those specific classes, they were at KIPP. The location was at KIPP.
Got it.
So that's why. So I don't know. I would have to find out about what we were going to do in terms of the field trip, because I know Sunny was talking to David Markey about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone who's a grantee through the commission's field trip program, if you haven't already talked to David, need to talk to David.
Oh yeah, no, she's been talking with him.
Very flexible. He's trying to figure out, and has been very generous in the commission extending that the opportunities through the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
Also encouraging folks to think about virtual platforms, new ways to get the programming out. But I think Karen's initial question probably was just around what vehicle were you thinking of using? It sounds like you're going to use YouTube. It might live on the website for DC Jazz Fest or not. We would suggest you should do it that way. That way the parents and caretakers and students see all of GC Jazz Fest and have an opportunity to click through. But Tracy's now going to walk us through it, so you can see there are multiple ways of how folks are sharing their resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, so first of all, the distance learning resources featured prominently on our homepage, dccollaborative.org. And you can get there in the program quick link section on the right side of our webpage. It's that top button.
Mm-hmm.
To get I just went to performing arts and clicked on elementary school. Every single discipline and content area or every single discipline and grade level has a resource in it. And every time I talk about this database, I just want to give Trey McMichael, our education programs manager, a shout out. He basically made this entire website and started collecting these resources in a week. So I just continue to be amazed by him, because he was started here on the February 10th too. And then, yeah.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah, he's
jumped right in. So Imagination Stage, they have some resources that are more of like recorded videos. She did tell me that they are recording more to have on the website. And then they also submitted just theater activity guides that are for their main stage productions that they've already had developed. But I can take you to, like, they're basically on this blog, they're posting daily videos for parents. So that's a very interesting resource. And this thing is messing with my ability to click. Okay. And then their theater activity guides are more of like a PDF connected to standards. The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, they just shared like their national resource that teachers can go in and search for lessons. Let me see what the musicianship did. They have a link to the art of songwriting. You can really peruse the database to kind of look for examples. But they did this with us as part of their field trip experiences grant a few years ago, but they basically had recordings of like a teaching artist giving a lesson. And then they were going to go to attend a musicianship performance. So there's all different types of resources on there. We say that in all our language that we're pushing out, that it encompasses virtual field trips, curricular guides.
Mm-hmm. So you want us to have a presence like this. You would like to have like a connection to the website, a write-up. Okay.
Yeah. A connection to the website would be great, but the PDF resources are really important, because I think some teachers will be distributing them at school sites weekly for parents and families who don't have access. And equity is really important to us. So if you submit online videos and stuff, that is wonderful, but please also think about the equity issues and giving us a a PDF as well. And let me just look. We had I don't have everything open on this computer. I'm sorry. We have had a really great response. There's almost, this is my personal email. Sorry. Okay. I'll share my
one down and post that on Facebook.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll share my screen again in a second once I can call up some of the responses from the teacher needs assessment. I'll give you guys all a little more time to talk, and then but a more like in-depth analytics will be in the newsletter.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think another thing,
thank you.
Another thing that is on each of your tabs, which is very important, it will show the curricular connections that you may have already identified. We're going to go back in and help everyone think about those a little more with some of our curricular connection workshops. So we'll start up again that Tracey mentioned. But at the very bottom, when you scroll down before a parent, caretaker, or teacher or student would click through, if you scroll to the very bottom, it will have your web organization website and your contact info, because we want to make sure that this is also an opportunity for folks to learn more about your org. That's why if you can push it through your organization's website, all the better, because it's just good brand recognition for you. Because we're really hoping that this once we're back up and running again, maybe a student and a family have participated maybe multiple times to one of your lessons that you've provided, and they get so excited that they want to come and participate. They want more. And that's also the whole idea too, for this to be a gateway to more public programming opportunities for families and students too in the future.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions or thoughts to share? I think, Karen, you just asked if anyone has used Instagram yet to get programming to the public. I haven't heard about that from any of our members yet. I know that a lot of celebrities have been doing that, and I did a Debbie Allen dance party last week on Insta Live, but that could be a possibility if it's coming through an official organizations portal. That's even all the better too, because we haven't heard anything officially yet about privacy issues and students. So we don't know, but I think at this point, whatever information, resources, opportunities we can put out to the community, the better. And something like that, if you were to use Insta Live, you can add it to a calendar that we are creating, which is also in that resource database. And you can send it to community. You can set up a calendar invite, send the calendar invite to community@dccollaborative.org, and it will automatically populate in that calendar. So that's another resource that families and students can see. Tracey just put that up on our chat. But I think you can also save those recordings too, and then those can go back into your own respective websites, platforms, whatever you typically use to get your programming out. And then Tracey also has shared what that looks like.
From what I've seen on Insta Live, they do publicize it before and give a specific time. So that may be good for families. And then if you missed it, you can go back. So I think that
do record.
And I have no idea about the privacy. I think it would be mostly, I'm thinking it would be teachers, teaching artists, arts educators, nonprofit orgs, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you market it as a PD opportunity, and that's another thing on my website. We on our new distance learning database portal there, we do have, as Tracey showed you on that top bar, there is an opportunity for PD work to be shared, and then concurrent to that, added to that calendar. So that would be a good way to market to teachers, and probably some parents and caretakers would look at that too.
You know, it occurs to me that we're reaching out to so many different people, which is incredible, families, students, organizations, but I wonder if we could do something special for the teachers and have 1 or 2 teachers come on one day, because I really don't know how they're doing with all of this. They must have a lot of pressure to do a lot of teaching online. They
Yeah.
put it together so quickly, and I just wonder if there's a way we could support them emotionally and also professionally.
Yeah, that could certainly be one of our daily Zoom chats. Are there any teachers on today that want to share how they're doing, whether you're at a charter or a public school?
We had, I know there's one, Amanda was on yesterday.
Yeah. That's a good point. We can follow up. Tracy can walk us through the needs assessment survey because that talks about that too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Anyone else?
had another thought, unless I'm interrupting someone,
No?
but I know that the food delivery is going on. I don't know how it's working. I mean, you know, and I know that some teachers in some schools are going door to door to the students and taking them food and information. And I just wonder, and I could certainly ask Mary myself, but I wonder, because we're missing so many weeks of teaching, I wonder if there are any supplies that DCPS has, art supplies, that we could make up packets. You know, of course, all of that, you know, is people getting together, which we can't do, but yeah, I wonder if there's a way, because the food system is already in place, and I wonder if we could add art materials to it.
Supplies, yeah. You know, I know the DC Education Fund is already starting to push out through the Greater Washington Community Foundation a drive to raise money. The focus is mostly on digital access and getting those tools to students in need first, whether it's free Comcast or other Wi-Fi services, actual hardware, computers, tablets, whatever the students may need. But they also are raising money for other things, and that very well may include supplies like that. Okay. We had a thought initially very similar to what you're thinking of, okay, well, at the food distribution centers, these schools, or even at the schools themselves, because some schools, at least at this point, are open for students to pick up learning packs each week. By the way, we did learn from Mary, the DCPS schools learning packs, the arts, humanities, and PE supplementary materials are at the bottom of the packs. So we should send out some messaging around like, hey, parents and caretakers, hey, students, work your pack from the bottom up, you know, so they see that that's where our materials will live. But those materials are being distributed. I don't know about art supplies, and that is a concern, especially with some of the programming that we as the cultural institutions and teaching artists may put up. But that's where we probably should get really resourceful and creative too, especially if you're creating a new program, a new live activity. Maybe it's something that students can, I mean, Karen, I know you're so resourceful and imaginative, creating art with what you may have at home, creating music with what you may have at home, dance, kinetic movement in more limited spaces since the kiddos are going to be in their homes. So we can get resourceful and creative that way too. That's something a little different than our normal regular programming that we want to continue to provide as well. But we'll continue to check in each week to see the status of physical supplies getting to students. As of last week, they were just getting those food distribution sites up and running. So we'll see where they are. We'll be checking in with that DCPS and charter school team on Friday.
Thank you.
Okay.
I could share the needs assessment survey if you'd like me to go over that, Lissa.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen again. I feel like I have to warn everybody before I do that because it always takes over when people share.
Bye, be well.
So the distance learning needs assessment went out on Friday. We have 48 responses right now, which is pretty great. So all teachers are asked to fill out the subject area and grade level that they taught, just so we can see like who is from our contact list is will be using the database the most. And then we have what resource types that would be most helpful to educators. Online or printable lesson plan study guide, filmed virtual museum/historic home tour, performing arts activity, online interactive professional development, distance learning live classroom lesson, distance learning for students with special needs, and then we have another field. We also asked what content area they would like to focus on, and what disciplines they would like to see the most. And then so far, and I mean, this is very informal, but I can share it with you guys. So far, it looks like the highest priority here with 31 responses was the distance learning live classroom lesson, followed by online or printable materials. Professional development, most people indicated that it was a medium, like medium range priority. And then some of the other resources that teachers are requesting, online educational gains for kids, another interactive game, printable handouts for students. Someone writes that their students has limited access to resources, so she's struggling to find lessons that are engaging without many extra materials needed. So echoing what Lissa just said. Also, a large majority of their students have special needs. Something about virtual museum tours or online activities where students can complete and a score is sent to the teachers. That's interesting. Home activity suggestions, again, more what Lissa and Karen were sharing. Science experiment videos and math lessons. The content area that received the most response, of course, from our list would be the arts, but then followed by English and literature. So that's good for Planet Word Museum, Caitlin. And then the discipline and medium, again, visual arts and writing, reading, and journalism. And hands-on lab, as well as music and music production are up there too. The teachers are expressing that this teacher expressed that they want their students to continue practicing and creating, and talk about music instruments, and she talks about music instruments and supplies. And another person talks about special education.
Very important.
So that's a pretty good overview. A lot of these, I guess more of these charts will be prettier in our in our newsletter, but I just wanted to share with you briefly. So do you guys have any questions about the needs assessment or any other, anything else to share?
No. Caitlin, what are you all thinking about for your opening? I know that's such a hard question, but.
First of all, thanks, Tracy, for sharing that. That was really interesting. We were set to open on May 31st, and we've officially said that is probably not going to happen, and we will establish a date once we know what things look like. So in the meantime, I'm just continuing to work on being ready for kids in the fall, but which was, my original mandate. But I'm also really appreciating these sessions in terms of trying to think about if there's something for us to pivot to try to do now, even though that wasn't really our original intention. But as there's need, it's definitely worth paying attention to.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to promote the museum as well, that this will be this great new resource that'll be opening up in the near future. If that's something that you all can do, especially since ELA was up there with the arts as something that teachers were looking for. And certainly families will be continuing to look for these things too. And like I said, this this is an interesting time for you since it's an entity that's not even public yet, but it very well might be a really interesting way to start serving the community through education for remotely in some way, even just some simple things, even if you just do some kind of pulse flash quick education, kind of seem like these word flashcard things or something, something that could be fun, a game. It could be pretty simple too. That might be a great tool and get your brand out there. But
we're definitely thinking about that. And also we're, cognizant of April being Poetry Month. So.
Oh, of course.
Trying to connect those things.
Oh yeah. That's another thing we should be thinking about that as a community. All of what comes up over the next few months, we should make sure that we're promoting that and keeping all of those activities alive as much as possible, especially in a virtual setting. Another thing while you're here, Caitlin, that we're thinking a lot about too is how this platform remains as a constant beyond Corona, how this virtual field trips, virtual education, downloadable materials, as well as complementing the actual experiential learning on site, or what was Maureen calling it yesterday, Tracy? I just forgot the type of learning it was so good. It'll come to me. I can't think of it right now. But once we're actually able to open our doors again, or officially have our grand opening in the case of Caitlin's museum, these tools that are on this resource will endure. This type of work will endure. We're talking, yesterday we had a conversation with the Office of Cable, Film, TV, Media, Entertainment, and right now they are putting out a lot of emergency related material through their Knowledge Network, the Mayor's Channel, and of course City Council Channel. Those are the 3 channels they have. But they're very interested in seeing what they can do to help us in short term and maybe even in long term to really talk about promoting all of the work that you all do to support DC residents, families, students, parents, educators, caregivers, all of the above. And I'm thinking that our programming committee, which Caitlin is a co-chair of, at some point when we're all not in complete rapid response mode and hopefully have a better idea of what's on the horizon, we can talk about this portal itself and how, as a community of practice, we can help support and make improvements, just as we do with our regular office programming every year.
I think that sounds great. I love that this resource and this pooling of resources exists. And I think that a lot of good collaborations are starting to happen too.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. So even in these really crappy times and uncertain times, some beautiful things are happening, which is great. And like Tracy said earlier in the call, it makes me feel really good to see you all or hear your voices every day too. We're with our loved ones, and that's important. Or if we're alone, we need to hear other voices. We need to hear from our colleagues. It keeps us grounded. And I know for me, sane for sure. I feel like we're still doing really great work and we're still working together. And in fact, we get to talk to each other more than we ever did before. So that's kind of a nice thing too. Yeah.
I also was struck in the needs survey by the number of teachers who were mentioning having students with special needs.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the NPR Life Kit podcast yesterday that was talking about like tips for homeschooling your kids if you're a parent. And they were saying like, basically like the message that this podcast put out was like, if your child is a struggling learner, like this is going to be even harder for them and you need to adjust your expectations. And I'm sure that's really hard for a lot of parents to hear. And I wonder what that looks like, trying to support these kids who need a little extra love.
That should be one of our community Zoom chat conversations too, for sure. And we'll try and get some folks on the line for that. That is so important. It is. I know one of our colleagues was just talking about that yesterday, with her own son, it is very important. And that's something we need to be mindful of, especially when we focus so much on equity. We've been thinking a lot about the digital divide, but we have to think about students of all different learning abilities in these materials as well, and maybe finding ways to get extra support to those families and caretakers. That's a good point. Noted. We'll take that back.
Work with Clarissa to reach out to the those who had those responses in the survey. Maybe the teachers can come on and discuss their
yeah.
I don't know what their teaching schedules look like. Like when they're doing, I think they're supposed to be available for office hours, so students can contact them at certain times. But Clarissa, I'll connect with Clarissa. Yeah, to figure that out. I know, like in Clarissa's personal life, her boyfriend is a special education teacher at Tyler Elementary, so she might be able to offer some other insight too.
Right, because she'll know from his work for sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. So if we can't get them on a daily Zoom chat, maybe it's a different time, or Clarissa can ask him for some recommendations to share to us. And also look at maybe some national resources or regional resources that are already out there too, that could complement the work. I mean, we know that many of our members do consider equity in all of their education programming. Imagination Stage, it's mostly about sensory issues around the actual physical experience of going to see performances, but then they also have students on the spectrum that perform in pieces too. And but as far as actual materials that can be shared with families and acknowledging additional needs and resources for distance learning for those families, that's gonna be really an important thing. And maybe we'll start to Google around and see what some best practices might be on the national level too, because that's something else. This portal will also is populated by national resources, so we should take a look and make sure we put something there as well. But that was a good point to bring up, Caitlin. Thanks.
Thanks to you guys.
And Seneca, just for the notes, I see you're on the call, so I couldn't type this to you privately. Which organization or school are you from, if you would like that included on our notes? Oh, okay. Seneca, you're on mute. Okay, well, that's okay.
Or maybe I have to step away or something.
Yeah. And Nadia, you're from GALA Hispanic Theatre, correct? Okay.
Yep. Okay. Anything else anyone want to share today? Any other suggestions for us for new ideas? Okay, thanks, Nadia. Take care. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, we're here every weekday. Be on the lookout for our newsletter, which will be coming out soon. We'll also have more updates for you on specific content for different 11 o'clock Zoom chats. But know for sure that David Markey and Mary will be on again on Monday. And please, please, please share the distance learning resource with your contacts, even if your material isn't up yet, even to say I'm working on material, but here's a great resource. Please make sure that everyone in the community knows about it. And Tracy just put the link to it there in the chat. So make sure you grab that before we all sign off. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Be well. And I hope you have a great day and that you make time for self-care. I know it's kind of a gloomy, rainy day, but do some stretches, kind of march around your space a little, do something creative, have something yummy to eat, but take care of yourselves. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.